How are you, everybody? Thanks for joining us. This is Mike Bara. You might have seen him on TV. You might have read his books. You might check out all of his shows. He does several shows. He does Toxically Masculine Tuesday, every Tuesday. And it's been, we've been covering some heavy subject matter. I don't want to say it's been fun because it's been pretty brutal. Blake, Wally, and I have been reporting on the ground in North Carolina. There's lots of stories, there's lots of concern, and there's lots of devastation and destruction down there for sure. But check Mike out on all of his other shows. Mike, where's the best place for people to find you and what you do?
Well, I think actually it would be mikebara.blogspot.com. Just go there or just type in Mike Bara into Google. That should be the first thing that comes up, and it's got links to all the different shows I do and videos. And you can also find me on Telegram, on Mike Bara Chat, and on Twitter X on @MikeBara333. And seahawkboymikeb is another Twitter account I have, and Facebook and Instagram, MikeBara333, all that kind of stuff. So those are the places. Just my friend Mark Z last night really was going on about Telegram, and I just there you go. There's a kitty.
Yeah,
there's a Detroit lion, and I like Telegram, and I built an audience there really quick. It's amazing, Brian, when you're not suppressed by, Googlepedia, how quickly you can build a following on different platforms that don't know who you are. It's shocking how quick it is.
Yeah, it really is. It's so weird. You can see just on a brand new Rumble account, you can have a reach into the thousands right off the bat. And then you check on YouTube, the same exact content, except you have many more thousands of followers and millions of views over the lifetime. It's like, I don't know, 42 views, 42.
Yeah.
And you're like,
and then you're like, really? And then, even Twitter X is still compromised by the algorithms. Look, I've had, I think if you counted up all 9 of my previous Twitter accounts, I probably had 100,000, followers at some point. And I've been stuck on about 3,000, 3,200 for over a year. And it's like, I put stuff out and I check the interactions and it's like 80. And I'm like, so why is it that all of my followers don't see my tweets? Why is that, Elon? And please don't tell me that there's free speech on Twitter, because there isn't. If you're suppressing certain accounts that go against the grain, and I don't blame Elon 100%, because nobody can be, you can't know what each and every content moderator is doing on his platform. But boy, when they find out, they ought to just fire people and make it very public.
Yeah, but Elon's had this for a couple of years. He's an engineer. He said he wasn't buying a social media company. He was buying a crime scene. I've heard that quote, or maybe it was misattributed to him. Either way, but like, at some point you open up the cabinet where the IT departments before you have been, and it's just a rat's nest. It's plugged at green wires, yellow wires. You got the things sparking in the corner. At some point you just unplug everything and rebuild. There's still phantom code. Oh, there's phantom code. Bullshit. Like, he had to have re-engineered this whole thing by now. 70, 80% of their staff rebuilt it.
As an example, I referred to Kamala Harris as Kamswala Horus in a tweet, and I got flagged and suspended for 12 hours for, I don't know, violent content or something like that, or being hateful speech. And I appealed, and I know a human being reviewed it, and they still kept me suspended for 12 hours. Now, I didn't lose my account, but that puts me on some libtard suppression list. And all this stuff has to stop. It has to be made illegal, and people have to go to jail that do this. Because I can call that bitch anything I want. Sorry, not to get political. Let's talk about something. There's issues. There's definitely still issues.
Fine. It's fine. Everybody that knows me knows that you can't go 5 minutes without getting into politics. But look, I think some things are worth talking about, and I think especially the things that are being suppressed need to be talked about a little bit more. Yeah, if we can't make a 5th grade joke, you make fun of somebody's name in a 5th grade way. Like, this is insanity. I'm old enough to remember when the internet was an awesome place and everybody said what they wanted to say, and you kept.
Oh my God, Twitter was incredible, because I could just say anything and call anybody any name and be as funny and clever as I wanted, and I shot right up. And then the 2016 election happened, and they
Yeah.
decided they needed to stamp down.
Oh, that's interesting. There goes your feed. Mike's feed has paused. I can't even talk about the 2016 election. Wait, is Mike back? Your
Yeah,
feed paused.
it's gonna happen like that. Just ignore it. It comes back pretty quick. So
No, but you talked about the thing we weren't supposed to talk about, and that's when they got you. They're reminding you that our handlers are watching. This is the point of the show where I'd like to take a moment to speak to our handlers and just say, listen, I appreciate what you're doing. You have an inside, behind the scenes, behind the curtain opportunity. You have access to make a real difference when your time is brought up. When you are called into duty, you can sabotage the whole thing from the inside out. I'm counting on you. Humanity's counting on you to do the
okay,
right
well there you
thing.
go. Well, knowing that we're all monitored by the thought police, I just like to randomly on every platform DM like a dick pic. So every day that somebody is looking at my profile, hey, there's my dick right in your face. There you go. Just why not? Why not? That's how you fight the power. Is you make them look at your dick every single day.
I call that the TSA theory. Oh, no, no, no. I'm going to opt out. Oh, no, you're touching it. You are going to touch it. We're going to make a whole spectacle. Would you like to do this in private? Oh, no, 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 no. Right on full display for everybody to see. You're
It's
touching it.
not gay if it's TSA. All right, let's
On
get
that
out of
note,
this.
let's talk about some football.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last week, I mean, where do we want to start? I guess we'll talk about our picks because we always make our predictions on
Yeah.
who win what. Mike's doing okay. I'm doing well. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Mike lives in Vegas and he gets some inside information on the betting. Did you want to start with any tips for the betting, or we'll roll
No,
through
I
this week
actually
first?
don't have any. I don't have any tips from Jim this week. I didn't get any from him. I didn't ask for any because I forgot that I just didn't get any. So I don't have any particular tips. But if I should get a text, I think Jim's probably crashed by now. He and his wife Regina, they used to work graveyard overnight in Vegas for the police department. So they have a tendency to go to bed about 3 in the morning and sleep till about noon. So I don't think we're gonna get any special betting tips this week.
All right. Well, maybe on X. You'll put it out on X if you
I
get.
will do that. As a matter of
And,
fact,
and by the way, special thanks to Mike. Thank you for doing the show at a different time today. We've been on the road in North Carolina, and we've been traveling all over the place. So we're squeezing in the show on the right day, maybe just a unique time today. We try to stay 5 p.m. Eastern time when possible. But
we're going
let's
early.
let's jump into the scores from last week. Let's start with this one: Buccaneers Falcons. This was a Thursday night game, and we got a heck of a game. Baker started off with 3 quick first half touchdowns, and then Kirk Cousins, when you looked up at the end of the day, more than 500 yards throwing, and he hits Kadarrell Hodge, former Cleveland Brown, in a long touchdown pass, beating the Buccaneers. So now the Falcons and Bucks are 3-2. What did you learn in this game?
Well, if I was the Tampa Bay owner, and I forget who it is it still the Glazers? I think I'd start putting out a $5,000 bonus for anybody who actually makes a tackle on the Tampa Bay defense, because that was ridiculous. So we say it's a great game because it was 36-30. That's not necessarily a great game. It's great to have a game like that once in a while, but I prefer balance. I'm just as happy with a 17-16 game that's hard fought to the end as I am a 36-30 game. I thought the defenses were both pretty terrible. But one of the things you have to say is the Atlanta Falcons, they are tough, they are resilient. Kirk Cousins is a leader. He won, this whole thing, there used to be a time when he had not won in prime time. He had not won a game in prime time.
That's right. Yeah.
7 or 8 years of his career. Now he's like 5 out of the last 7 or something like that. So he seems to have gotten that monkey off his back. And it just shows what a smart, efficient quarterback he is. And his guys did their run after the catch. They, that the last touchdown in overtime, nobody tackled. Nobody even tried to tackle the guy. It's like, oh, I'm just going to throw it over the middle for 9 yards, and then the guy's going to run another 45.
We call that the Tim Tebow against the Pittsburgh Steelers playoff.
Yeah, or the Geno Smith special, because 50% of Geno's yards this year are throw an 8-yard dump off pass, and the guy DK or Tyler Lockett or somebody turns it into an 18, 20, 30, 40-yard gain. So I deplore the lack of defense, and on Todd Bowles' side, I'm surprised by that because he's a very good defensive coach. He's a good man, one of the few coaches that I actually root for because of some of the things he said over the years. Like, why do you keep talking about me as a black coach? Why can't I just be a football coach? You gotta love
Yes.
a guy like that. I root for him. But it was a fun game, an exciting game, and two quarterbacks played really well. Tampa should have won it.
Yeah, I mean, look, they came out in the first half to 24 right there off the top, but I mean, Atlanta hung with them 17 as much as they Baker 19 of 24, 3 touchdowns, only 180 yards. And
Yeah.
you know, the Baker haters will say, "See, he wasn't able to get it done in the clutch." It's like, yeah, this loss is on just about everybody but Baker.
Well, yeah, I mean, Baker wasn't out there making tackles in overtime. Give me a
Yeah.
freaking break. You let a guy who's not exceptionally NFL fast break away for 45 or 50 or 60-yard touchdown in overtime. You're not tackling. So, $5,000 bonus if you actually make a tackle on Tampa Bay. The other thing I want to say about the Falcons is, I used to have that game for the Seahawks marked as a win at the beginning of the season. I don't think that anymore. I think the Falcons are a lot better than anybody expected.
Yeah, they do have some veteran leadership, and they're starting to, I mean, Drake London, 154 yards and a touchdown. Where have you been, Drake? Where have you been? I mean, a lot of it comes down to quarterback play. We saw the Cleveland Browns with Dorian Thompson-Robinson last year, even Deshaun Watson sort of not really getting it done. PJ Walker. But when we got Joe Flacco, man, did he unlock the same players, same offense. Just unlocked it, went vertical. And Kirk Cousins, he's always gone vertical. He's always been able to throw it downfield to Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Wherever he's at, he airs it out. So we'll keep your eye on Drake London as a sleeper in fantasy as well.
Fantasy guy,
But Falcons tied with the Bucks now. Of course, they own the tiebreaker now in the AFC South. Let's move over to Jets at Vikings. Vikings are undefeated. Can they go and match the Miami Dolphins record, Mike?
No, they aren't going to go 14-0 or 14-0 or 17-0-0. That's not going to happen because they're not that good. And Sam Darnold's now injured, I guess. But, how bad were the Jets? And they just look miserable. They look like they can't get any offense going. And, of course, all the people who hate Aaron Rodgers because he proved that ivermectin cures COVID, they hate him for that in the media, jump all over Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers isn't the problem. The conception and execution of the offense is. And, Robert Saleh got blamed for it with good reason. He was in his 4th year, and you should be a winner by then. They have some good players on that team. I think the owner just said, look, we have too many good players to be playing this bad. Kind of what the Seahawks owner thought last year when they got rid of Pete Carroll. But I didn't really have a problem with the way Aaron Rodgers played. And it was surprising that they let go of Saleh at this point in the season. I don't think they should have ever let him be the coach this year. But it sounds like the Jets have a bad reputation around the league, and a lot of coaches don't want to go there. So I forget who the interim coach is, but just the Jets are underperforming. They continue to underperform. Granted, it was this 6:30 a.m. Pacific time game in London. There's another one this week. We love that. I get up in the morning. I wake up about 6 usually anyway. Turn on football, watch my Premier League game, watch my NFL football, and I just got football all day long. So interesting game. I don't think you can really take much out of it other than the Vikings were good enough. And that's what matters.
They were good enough. Breece Hall still not able to really unlock his talent. 9 rushes for 23 yards. Unfortunately, an injury to Aaron Jones on my dynasty team. Not so great. You were not a fan of the Jets coach. Robert was not on your favorite person list.
No, I've never seen a guy so overrated by the media in my life. He had a defense with San Francisco just chock full of not just first round picks, but top 10 first round picks. I mean, all these guys, Brenton, Forrest Buckner, and all these players that they had. And I mean, every time there was a play that the 49ers defense made, they flashed to him, not the head coach, to him. And it's like, to me, it stinks of an agenda. And I believe the agenda was having to do with the fact that Saleh was a Muslim. Not only was he a black coach, he was a Muslim coach, and they really, really wanted to get him a head coaching job. And they did. And okay, Robert Saleh has reached his level of incompetence. He's the most he's ever going to be in this league as a defensive
Instead of calling that the Peter principle, will that be the Sala principle?
Yeah, the Sala principle. Well, I mean, yeah, it's basically you eventually reach the level of your own of your incompetence,
Yeah.
and he reached it. He's not a leader. I mean, yeah, there were everybody in New York hated him. Players didn't like him. The management didn't like him. And here's a guy, here's a guy before the game a couple weeks ago, an hour before the game, 2 hours before the game, he's out there running stairs. And I'm like, somebody commented, I think it was a Jets fan. I think it was Mike Greenberg. He's like, shouldn't you be in the locker room scheming up those last few little adjustments to your game plan to give you an advantage, and rather than running the stairs and showing off to everybody what great shape you're in? I don't know. I never liked Saleh. I thought there was a lot of an agenda behind him. And all you have to do is look at Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk, just bitching and whining and moaning about him getting fired the way he moaned about Colin Kaepernick getting fired, to know that there was a liberal agenda on this guy. He never should have been a head coach. He never should have been a head coach.
Well, he's not, and we'll see. We'll see where he ends up. The coaching carousel has begun. Trust me, there are rumors in Cleveland about Mike Vrabel, who is on the staff. He's on the roster as a special consultant, I believe.
I would have made him the head coach. I would have made him the head coach instantly because he's already done it.
Yeah, but it's well, we'll get to Cleveland in a second, but I think they're just saying it's more a Jimmy Haslam problem. Doing the Jimmy Jones or the Jerry Jones impersonation, thinks he's the smartest person in the room and gets involved in the football stuff instead of just letting competent people do their thing. Now, I think that gives the general manager, Andrew Berry, and Kevin Stefanski too much of a free pass, of course. But I think the rot starts even higher up over there. Let's go to the Panthers. They're rotting away at 1-4. They sling 10 points on the board. Not so impressive, but DJ Moore, he bounces back, 5 receptions, 105 for 2 touchdowns. Caleb Williams, 20 for 29, 304 with 2 touchdowns. In the Chicago Bears, look at that. They're 3-2. It's a tough division. Look at this NFC North. Minnesota 5-0, Detroit 3-1, Green Bay and Chicago both 3-2. They're doing what the AFC North did last year. They're looking to be really tough.
I mean, imagine being 3-1 or 3-2 and in second place in your division to the freaking Vikings. You don't even have their number 1 quarterback out there. So that's a good division. And look, Caleb Williams, okay? I'm not saying he's an elite quarterback because he isn't yet, but this is why it is critical to have an elite talent at quarterback, regardless of where he is in his development. Because Caleb Williams isn't that good yet, but he's going to be good, and he can make plays that regular dudes can't make. And that is finally starting to show through. He's got a good rapport with DJ Moore. And I again, just like Justin Fields did last year. And again, I think they're really a team on the rise, and you've got to really like what they've gotten out of this guy. So,
and if you look at the yards, I mean, he's thrown for more than 300 yards twice on the season. That's more than Deshaun Watson. Let's just do a quick comparison, not to make everything about the Browns, but my God, I can't even remember what a 300. Oh, wait, yes, I can. I can look back to Joe Flacco last year, but why?
Yeah, what does a 300-yard game look like?
Why would we do that? Let's just cut Joe Flacco. Who needs that guy sitting in your locker room?
Ask Joe.
Yeah, well, look, the Bears, I was impressed by their defense last year. They looked pretty aggressive. They looked swarming. Obviously, beating the Panthers is not much of a test. I will toss that caveat in there. But look, you can only beat the teams in front of you, and the Bears are doing it. They're 3-2, and they're fighting.
And they're NFL teams. You beat an NFL team. That's the bottom line.
Exactly. Let's go to some other NFL teams here in the AFC North. Ravens beat the Bengals on a Justin Tucker field goal. Derrick Henry, looking strong, 92 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase had a strong game. It looks like his slow start to the season, and maybe it was injury, maybe it was contract, but he went for 10 receptions, 193 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the day. Burrow throwing for 392 and 5 touchdowns, but just not enough. The Bengals slipped to 1-4, and the Ravens, it's just these teams with pedigree find ways to win, and the teams with a historical ineptitude find ways to lose. What did we learn in this Ravens-Bengals game?
I agree with you about that. I think the Ravens were just that little bit more physical, and that's what ended up being the decisive factor in that game. Is not, and when I say physical, I don't just mean at the line of scrimmage in the trenches. I also mean, Lamar being able to take off and run, which Burrow can't do. That was an extra dimension that the Bengals had a hard time defending. Very high scoring game. Jamar Chase is making the case for getting a couple first round picks for him from Jerry Jones and the Cowboys when they decide to overpay, as they always do, to try to make Dak look better. So, I think Jamar Chase is a great receiver, probably the best receiver in the game right now. Had a terrific game. Lamar just was Lamar. Joe Burrow was Joe Burrow. Two elite top 5 or 10 quarterbacks going at it, and exciting game. But I think the Ravens just were a little bit too physical, and that's what ended up being the big difference.
Yeah, and they're able to look. I mean, Baltimore's leading this pathetic division now at
After
3-2.
starting 0-2, right after starting 0-2, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's God, Cleveland and Cincinnati both at 1-4. I mean, Cleveland and Cincinnati were both playoff teams recently, and it feels like a million years ago.
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. What happens if Cincinnati ends up really bad and ends up staring a cornerback in the face in the draft? What do you do?
No, they're fine with Burrow. I don't think Burrow's the issue there. Do you? Do you think Burrow's the issue?
Burrow's contract might be the issue. The Brown family is notoriously cheap. And what if they say, well, we could get 2 or even 3 first-round picks for Joe Burrow, and then we got Quinn Ewers right here. Maybe we should do that. I don't know. I think that's a situation that bears watching, depending on how the Bengals season goes.
I think that would definitely upset Jamar Chase if he doesn't get to play with his former quarterback.
Speaking of other guys you could trade and start over again, between those two guys, you might be able to get 5 first-rounders out of it.
Well, unfortunately, they're starting to have this conversation in Cleveland about getting something for Myles Garrett, Amari Cooper. Like they're already talking about the fire sale. Like if you're going to be bad, you need to get the maximum out of your players. And I love Myles Garrett. I played defensive end for 2 undefeated teams and back in high school, way back then.
Wow.
I love the defensive end position. I love Myles Garrett, but man, if I would rather see him succeed than do the Joe Thomas and spend his whole career in misery in Cleveland. Like, I would hate to see him go, but I would understand if we needed to accumulate all these lost draft picks by overspending on Deshaun Watson. But I mean, the Browns painted themselves into this corner against all of my objections. I was yelling as loud as possible, don't do this, but sadly they didn't listen to me. They didn't give a shit what I had to say. But anyway, we'll see how that shakes out. Let's talk about the Dolphins and Patriots. Patriots at 1-4. Can you remember last time the Patriots were expected to be bad? I mean, I guess pre-Bledsoe.
Well, I think Bill Belichick's last season, everybody kind of knew they were going to be bad. I mean, who is it? Mac Jones, who they drafted. One really good year as a rookie, and then he just completely fell apart. And I mean, again, I think the Patriots are a team that doesn't seem to have a plan. And that result shows on the field. The Dolphins are a shell of a team, especially without Tua, and yet they found a way to win that game. And the Patriots are making the right move. They're finally just going to go to Drake May. He's had a chance to sit 5 or 6 weeks. He's seen the NFL game at full speed. You may as well just go with him. As long as you think you can protect him from getting hurt, let him play and let him take his lumps, because most rookie quarterbacks do. So you may as well let him play and see what you got in Drake May. And it's just time for that.
Yeah, they're not getting anything out of Jacoby Brissett.
Well, maybe you could even, look at trading Jacoby Brissett to Miami for a 5th round pick or something like that.
Tyler Huntley. Yeah, I loved, if you look here at the top of the headline, the Dolphins made so many mistakes against New England. The Patriots made more in Miami's 15-10 win.
Yeah. Well, Bill Belichick is the ultimate disciplined head coach. And I don't know if you watched the Manning cast with Peyton and Eli on Monday nights, but now for the first half or so, they have Bill Belichick on. Yeah. And you will learn more about football in that first hour and 15 minutes of that first half on Monday nights, watching the Manning cast with Peyton and Eli and Belichick, than you will learn from a million different podcasts. I mean, there's so much information that's put out there, and I love it. I don't understand why the ratings aren't better, because for me as a football geek, I just absolutely love what I learned from those guys. I mean, Peyton's talking about, oh, when he comes in like this, what you got to do is you got to take a half step aside and sidearm and underneath his arm. And I'm just like, how the hell do you know that? And he's got all this stuff in his head, and Eli's just like, oh, shucks, just throw it downfield and have the guy catch it on top of his helmet.
With one hand, yes.
Yeah, it's great. So I don't know. I think the Patriots are smart to start with Drake May now. They, throwing him out there week 1 would have been tough, but now he's had a few weeks under his belt. Let him do it.
Yeah, I've seen quarterbacks come in and provide the spark. Whether it's Kelly Holcomb for Tim Couch, I mean, geez, even go back Steve Young taking over for Joe Montana.
Yeah,
I mean, like the backup quarterback can definitely. Kurt Warner. I mean, I love the backup quarterback position, and in Cleveland, it's usually our most popular position. Unfortunately,
yeah, and I'm just going to remind you, in Cleveland, you had a chance in the expansion draft in 1999 to draft a guy named Kurt Warner, and you just passed on that. So,
yeah,
just wanted to let you know that. Just wanted to remind you of that.
Well, we passed on Donovan McNabb and some other people too, but I think without having an offensive line, whoever we put back there was going to be a sacrificial goat. Not greatest of all time, just a goat being sacrificed behind a lousy offensive line. We can talk about the Cleveland Browns' lousy offensive line this year. It's not just offensive line. Like they're saying, Deshaun's missing his layups. Washington Commanders, they've won 4 in a row. They're sitting at 4-1 at the top of the NFC East, a game up on Dallas. Game and a half up on Philly and New York as well. So I'm assuming you watched this game. The quarterback play from Jaden Daniels looked good. He looked all right. The Browns defense looked pretty good too on several different drives, but we just couldn't put it together. We couldn't get any consistent offense. The defense got tired, got worn out, and this was a blowout. And it's very demoralizing. I did a documentary called Football Equals Family on the Cleveland Browns' perfect winless season when we lost every game and bottomed out. Came back, we did a parody parade and protest, and we marched in a 0 around Cleveland Browns Stadium. It was a whole big deal. But this feels more depressing. It's very high priced now. We've mortgaged the farm with all of our draft picks that we had to give up, 2/3, a fifth, 3 first-round picks. Highest guaranteed contract in NFL history, pissed off all the other owners and the refs and the head offices with Roger Goodell. They're not happy with fully guaranteed deals. Yeah. And for what? A player with a whole bunch of accusations, character issues, and just he's been a shell of himself for 3-4 years now. He was benched down in Houston for a full year. I don't know how much worse it could get, Mike. What are you seeing when you watched this game, and then maybe just the Browns organizationally in general, where we are at this point?
Okay, so the gap between the two teams was at the quarterback position. The gap between Jaden Daniels and Deshaun Watson was measured in astronomical units, AUs. It was huge. And Jaden Daniels' playmaking ability, his confidence, how relaxed he was, how certain he was of where he was going with the ball, how much time he had, in spite of Myles Garrett. And when he got pressure, he was able to move around and make plays. And Deshaun just struggles with everything. And again, I don't know how much blame you can place on Deshaun, because I did see a lot of third down plays. I didn't watch everything, but like on third downs, it was like watching Russell Wilson play. I mean, he takes 2 steps back and there's 4 guys right in his face. So a lot of that is not his fault, but at some point, the elite quarterback has to step up and show his elite talents. And we talked about this last week. I don't know what's happened to Deshaun's talents. I don't know if it's physical injuries or confidence, but the marriage just doesn't seem like it's working. The relationship is not working. We're not having sex anymore, honey. We may as well just go our own separate ways. It ain't working. And the thing is, like, if I'm the Browns owner, what do? I like Stefanski. I don't know how you feel about Stefanski, but I've liked him. I think he's a good coach. But I keep wondering, Deshaun has made noises. There are rumors coming out that he would accept a trade to another team. And
nobody's going to trade for him. Nobody's going to take on that.
When he says that, he knows he has to restructure his contract. He knows that. And somebody might give you a 5th round pick for him as long as he agreed to a completely different contract.
We're not getting anything for him,
which he may or may not do. otherwise, I don't know what you do. You're stuck with this guy at ridiculous, just like unacceptable dead cap hits. You can't get rid of him. And so the only thing you can do is have him redo his deal and trade him to somebody that might want to take a chance on him, as long as they didn't have a lot of liability. And I think the Browns would have to pay somebody's salary. And I'm kind of with you at what you were talking about earlier. I think you give it 2 more weeks and then you put out the fire sale sign, because I think you got to start from scratch. You got to start over, and you may as well tank. You guys do have your first round pick this year, correct?
Finally, yes.
I would tank and get another quarterback. And even if that means you have 200 million out of your salary cap invested in 2 quarterbacks, you just got to do it until you can get Deshaun off the roster. Because, if you can't get it turned around, there's just no point in doing anything but tank.
Well, let's take a look here in the running for top picks in the league. Panthers, Bengals, Jaguars, Rams, Patriots, Browns, Titans. These are all the 1-win teams. Panthers, Bengals, Jaguars, Rams, Patriots, Browns, Titans. We're in the running. But look at that, the 49ers right after that. Who would expected them to be right at the bottom?
Yeah. I'm looking at that list. I mean, Panthers probably would take a quarterback. Bengals, no. Jaguars might. Rams would. Patriots aren't going to. You could get the second or third quarterback, and who knows? You could end up with the first round pick too. I don't think the Titans are grabbing a quarterback, but I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. It's just, for me, it's a question of. I could have easily benched Deshaun Watson early. He's had 2 sub-10 QBR games. Like, the worst we've seen. Both of them are Deshaun Watson on the season.
Yeah.
I don't like what we gave up to get him. I don't like how we treated Baker Mayfield. Do I like Stefanski? No, I think Stefanski's highly overrated. When he gets a favorable schedule, when our team sucks the year before, we get an easy schedule, and we're able to beat those teams and make the playoffs. Coach of the year. Well, next year when they make the schedules based on what your record said, we can't beat them, and then we miss the play.
That's like Geno Smith, feast on the bad team. So I think you're looking at, let's just tear it down to the studs and rebuild with a new core. That's what I would do.
I'll just add this as a caveat. Nick Chubb was practicing last week. I'm not sure how certain he comes back, but he's arguably the best running back in the league. Top 2, top 3, top 4. I don't know, however far you want to slide him.
One of my favorites.
He's the best. He's one of the best.
But he's 6 or 8 years in the league now, and guys at that age don't generally maintain that level, especially after coming back from a catastrophic injury. So I like Nick.
Granted. We call him Superman because he is superhuman, but right. I think the running game could improve with him coming back for sure. I see a demoralized team out there.
Yeah.
I see a big mess.
Well, I hear Robert Saleh is available.
All right. Yeah, we'll see about bringing him in. But yeah, Browns stumble into their 1-4 start.
Yeah, if I was the owner, I'd do whatever I could to just tear it up and start from scratch.
Yeah, the owner's the problem, though. The owners who drafted Johnny Manziel, the owners who pushed for this trade, the owner needs to stay out of the football stuff.
Not necessarily, because if I'm the owner, okay, and we have the 2nd overall pick in the draft, and there's 3 or 4 top 10 or first round considered quarterbacks in that draft, and my GM and coach come to me and say, we want to draft Saquon Barkley with the 2nd pick in the draft instead of Josh Allen or even Sam Darnold. I'm like, no, you're fucking not. You're drafting the quarterback because we need the quarterback. So there are times when an owner needs to step in and stop the insanity. Seattle is a prime example of stopping where the insanity needs to be stopped. But you have a woman owner who doesn't understand football, doesn't know when to step in. But yeah, the owner should not be running the day-to-day operations of the team and making every football decision. But sometimes the owner does have to step in and say, I don't think so. It was the Seahawks owner that stepped in and said, oh yeah, we need a quarterback, so we're going to take Dan McGuire over Brett Favre.
Hey, let me bring in somebody from the group real quick. Let me turn this up. Let me see. Holly, can you hear me? Oh, hold on. I'm not hearing you. Let me turn up. Where's the volume? Oh, the volume's up all the way. I cannot hear you. Darn it. I want to get her take on the Bengals. She's one of the biggest Bengal fans out there. Hang on one second. I got it. I'm not getting your volume. I really wanted to get your take on the Bengals. One more try. She's just giving a thumbs down. There she is. She's your take on the Bengals. Show us again.
Yeah, tell us.
Thumbs down.
You know they suck. Yeah.
It's all sign language from here. Just yeah. All right, we'll try to bring you on another time when we can get your sound coming in.
Bengals. Yeah. Here's the Bengals. Brian did this the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything awful. That's the summation of the Bengals and the Browns for that matter. Yeah. All right. Sorry, Holly. I would have loved to get her take on that because she's super Bengals fan. Anyway, let's talk about Colts and Jaguars. Obviously, teams looking for their franchise quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, hey, look, on his birthday, just does pretty well. 2 touchdowns, 371, gets the big win. Now they're out of the winless category, beating the Colts 37-34. What's our takeaway here?
People still complain about Trevor Lawrence. Hey, you know what? If Jaguars, if you end up with the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick and you want to take a young quarterback and you want to trade Trevor Lawrence to my Seahawks, you go right ahead. I'd be happy to drop a first-round pick on that guy. He might not have the intangibles that you need to be a Super Bowl champion in terms of leadership and masculinity and all that. He's a little bit effeminate, and you kind of does he have a girlfriend? Is he married? I don't even.
I saw a video of him walking around LA with his girlfriend, but
he doesn't look very macho. Let's put it that way. So maybe there's something missing there.
Yeah, Conan the Barbarian had long hair.
Yeah, and
Samson from the Bible had long hair.
Yeah, in terms of Paul Stanley of Kiss. In terms of the intangibles and the leadership, you got to worry, but physically he can do anything. I mean, he's got sort of, my brother kind of compared him to Andrew Luck. I think he's more like Drew Bledsoe, but Drew Bledsoe would have been good enough to win a Super Bowl if you put a really good team around him with some other leaders in the locker room.
Are the Jacksonville Jaguars a really good team around him?
No, they're a pretty terrible team.
So I mean, once again, and far be it from me to be a Deshaun supporter because I was Team Baker all the way, but another pass in that Commanders game, it hits Jerry Jeudy in both hands in the end zone. And it goes off of both hands. That's a touchdown that adds to now it's not quite as miserable. Last week, there were 2 touchdowns.
Ask Russell Wilson about that because Russell Wilson's lost about 6 touchdown passes the last 2 years in Denver to Jerry Jeudy that were dropped. So
I mean,
not good.
Some of it can be blamed on quarterback, but it's organizational. That guy in Jacksonville with the dastardly Dan mustache.
Todd Khan, yeah.
I'm a fancy man. I tells you, a fancy man.
Yeah,
he looks like and my cane, my monocle.
Who was the villain in Rocky and Bullwinkle? I don't know. Stanley. What was his name? I don't know.
It wasn't Dastardly Dan. That was a
no. But anyway,
you look up Rocky and Bullwinkle. While
I will. I'm getting to that.
Move on from the Colts and Jaguars. But by the way, just I'm gonna give kudos to Joe Flacco again. 359 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 121 quarterback rating.
Boris Badenoff. I forgot.
Boris and Natasha.
Badenoff
and Natasha.
All right.
I don't know. So kudos to Joe Flacco. I wish you were on my team. And
although that first touchdown on 4th down was not in the end zone. Here's what I think happened, and this is again.
That's the one they're showing right here on the screen, maybe.
Show that again. Flacco goes and he throws. That ball was not in the end zone because there's a better angle from the side. There it is.
All right, here we go.
That ball was not in the end zone. Not when he had control of it.
Yeah, it was like feet in the end zone.
Okay,
it's over the line.
But I'm outside the end zone. But I'll tell you this: it was a girl referee who called a touchdown, and they aren't going to overturn her for anything. So I don't know. Maybe that last angle, I might be a little more inclined to say it was a touchdown. But it was a 4th down play. That was a big deal. Joe is efficient. He got the job done. He falls into that Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins category where you can't exactly say he's a game manager because he can go deep, but but he also, he just efficiently gets the job done.
Yeah.
And he's got a Super Bowl ring. So, he's a winner.
I know. Well, as Donald Trump said, Joe Flacco is elite. Joe Flacco is elite. Did you ever see that clip about
Joe Flacco is elite?
Flacco, he's elite.
I'm working on my Trump.
Yeah, I know.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Then you got to do the big sniff. You got to go.
They're eating the cats. Okay.
Well, they're eating the Bills. They're eating the Bills down in Houston. The Houston Texans improved to 4-1, defeating the Bills. They're eating the Bills. They eat them the best. Beat them by 3. And look, the Houston Texans pick up where they left off last year, a playoff team. By the way, Holly was able to type in. She says the Bengals make me want to cry. So yes, that's
Holly,
the explanation of the thumbs down.
We're sorry that you have to cry, Holly.
I know.
Try being a Seahawks fan, or you don't even have Joe Burrow. Try being that.
You have a Super Bowl in your lifetime. You have that.
That's true. Not this one. This is the one we threw away. Pete Carroll threw away. But
yes, instead of ran away with, you threw it away. What do we take away from this? 59-yard field goal as time expires.
It's a good game between two very evenly matched teams, two good teams that may, if they get hot, they can make a Super Bowl run and beat the Chiefs in the playoffs if that's allowed to happen. Josh Allen injured, struggled. He hit his head. Looked like there was a problem there. Had an off game, but you got to give some of the credit to the Houston Texans defense and CJ fucking Stroud. Again, the guy, Seahawks in 2023, they got the 5th and the 20th overall pick. They've got picks in 2024. They've got two second rounders. They've got a second rounder in 2024 and 2025. They had all the juice. I'm like, the Bears are selling the first round pick, jump from 5 to 1 and go get my guy, CJ Stroud. And I was honest before anybody knew CJ Stroud was as epic as he is. I knew he was good. I didn't know he was this good. That's who I'm taking. That's this thing where I'm the owner. If I'm the owner, Brian, I'm stepping in and I'm fixing the team by doing that.
But to be fair, the Panthers offered more than you could have offered anyway.
No, that's not true. We had way more to offer than they did.
Did you really?
No, they only had the 9th pick. They didn't have another first round pick. We had 2 first round picks.
But they gave him the first the next year as well.
Yeah, we could have done that too. What are we going to lose out on? Byron fucking Murphy, who's got like 5 tackles in 5 games. Is injured the last 3 games. Oh boy, we're not gonna win without Byron Murphy. I mean, he sucks. And we had 2 second-round picks. We had way more to offer.
So you would have gone all in on a Deshaun Watson type of deal for CJ Stroud.
You have to, because that's the only way you get the elite quarterback. And now the Houston Texans are going to be Super Bowl contenders for the next 10 years, and the Seattle Seahawks are not. So anyway. I think it was just not Deshaun Watson, CJ Stroud being CJ Stroud. I got my Houston Texans quarterbacks mixed up there.
Yeah, I know.
He carried them. He carried them to the win. He made it through a few bad throws, but he ultimately carried them to the win. And that's why you have a guy like CJ Stroud on your roster.
Well, the Broncos have a guy like Bo Nix. Look at this. Another 34 points from the Broncos, beating up on the Las Vegas Raiders, improving to 3-2 on the season. 2 games back of the Chiefs, but in a very respectable spot there in the AFC West. What do you take away from this? Patrick Surtain's 2 interceptions helping the efforts.
I think it's going to I think the Seahawks and the Raiders are going to reinforce by the end of the year that if you do not have an elite quarterback, you don't really have a serious chance to win much of anything, no matter how good the rest of your roster is. And the Raiders roster is not very good. But Gardner Minshew was awful. Aiden O'Connell was awful. Who do they have to go to after that? Nobody. Bo Nix, first-round pick, played a solid game. Not a lot of yards. Yards are a fantasy stat. They don't win football games. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 117.2 quarterback rating. Bo Nix is coming. Bo is going to be the future there. And, he was efficient enough for them to win. And the Raiders are just a mess. They're a mess. I think by the time the Steelers come here and I go watch Russ maybe down here at Allegiant Stadium, 25 minutes away, I think I'm going to be able to get them Raiders seats really cheap.
Russ might end up playing this week. We'll see how that shakes out. That game's coming up here in a second. We'll talk about it. Yeah, I mean the Raiders found a way to beat the Cleveland Browns, but
Yeah.
I guess when you're having a Brown, never go full Browns,
Never
never
go
go
full
full
Browns.
Browns.
Never go full.
But yeah, the Raiders were able to get that win against us. Let's talk about Cardinals 49ers here. Cardinals somehow got a win against the Niners. I mean, the Niners were preseason favorites to maybe go back to the Super Bowl, and they're struggling at 2-3 on the early part of the season. They're both tied at 2-3. What did we learn in this game?
Well, I have an odd feeling they'll be 3-3 and in first place in the NFC West at the end of the night tonight. But yeah, they're playing. This is what happens when teams lose the Super Bowl, Brian. It takes a lot out of you physically. You have to play 20 games as opposed to 16 or 17 or 18 that other teams play. It wears you down. It beats you up. And in reality, you end up with a hangover, and they're experiencing that hangover. They got a lot of injuries. It's tough to stay healthy. And I think that they just didn't quite have enough to pull away. They had a couple of opportunities to pull away from the Cardinals. They didn't do it. And the Cardinals didn't quit, and they kept fighting, and Kyler Murray led them back. And, now they're tied. So good for them. It was a fun game, and not surprising because teams that lose the Super Bowl historically, more often than not, don't even make the playoffs the next year. So,
and it's a different sport, but it's just a reminder when we talk about the greatest of all time in all sports. I bring up LeBron when we talk about basketball. We can dislike him as a person, but I think his game, 22 years at peak, he's gone to every Olympics. He's been to even the times he doesn't win the 4 NBA championships, he's dragging inferior teams to lose in the NBA championships. The extra miles on his wheels are just, it's something you can't even fathom. So when you start talking about greatest of all time, the durability really makes a difference.
Yeah.
All the extra games, all the extra energy, the mental output.
The 49ers have a good roster thanks to all those high first round picks they got when they sucked. But the reality is, they got very lucky with Brock Purdy, the last pick in the entire draft in 2022. Yeah. And look at what a great quarterback he is. But he ain't Mahomes. And, they got lucky. They had a very injury-free run last year. They had Christian McCaffrey for pretty much the whole season, which is not his history. So as a result, I think that now it's just the chickens are coming home to roost.
Well, chickens coming home to roost. The Packers, Jordan Love came back.
Yeah.
All right. So how about that? They're coming back home to roost at quarterback. That franchise, they've had 4 quarterbacks in the last 100 years, it seems. Yeah. You get one guy for 15 years, and geez.
You go to Bart Starr, and then you go through Bart Starr, and then there's the dark ages for almost 20 years.
Right.
A lot of Don Mikowskis out there. But then you get Brett Favre, and then you get Aaron Rodgers, and now you got Jordan Love. And I got to say one thing about Jordan Love. He played well. He got them the victory. But that interception out of the end zone, I mean, if Will Levis had done that, the entire NFL media would have been crucifying Will Levis. And Jordan Love has a lot more time in this league and a lot more experience than Will Levis. And that was an inexcusably stupid interception. And it just gets me about how unfair the media is sometimes on these guys. Jordan Love is still learning, but he has such great physical tools.
Oh, absolutely. So the Packers, I mean, they're staying alive at 3-2, like we said. I mean, that's good enough for last place in the NFC North.
Well, great coaching job. Great coaching job by Matt LaFleur during those couple of weeks when he didn't have Love and he had to go with Malik Willis. Terrific coaching job. To beat any NFL team with Malik Willis is huge. And that means you're really doing a good job.
Any thoughts on their receiver? They sent one of their receivers home. Was Romeo Dobbs?
Yeah, Doubs. Yeah, Doubs or Dobbs. Yeah, that's a problem. When you have a guy who's a problem in the locker room, you got to get rid of him. So,
maybe the Browns can trade for Deshaun Watson. Well, straight up.
Romeo Doubs for Deshaun Watson.
Straight up. Yeah. How about it?
I don't know.
I think I would take that trade.
Yeah, that's an interesting story. One to watch.
Yeah. So anyway, that's something to keep your eye on. Obviously, we're talking about the Raiders. Devontae Adams, rumors are he wants to be traded. Amari Cooper saying he wants to be traded. Yeah. You're starting to see a month and a half into this season, as things are settling into chaos. People are just saying, "I want out." It's like the college NIL transfer portal. has worked its way into the pros now. They're like, oh,
Right.
we want a transfer portal
Fine
too.
with me. I want more trades. I want the Chiefs to be able to go out and get DK Metcalf or Devontae Adams. I want that to. I would like to see the trading deadline extended to Thanksgiving myself.
I'm okay with that. There's so many injuries. It's such a physical sport, and when you got to tank, you got to tank. And when you're all in, trade some assets and go all in. I'm kind of okay with that too. I really am. Let's talk about a game you might not be okay with. Your Seattle Seahawks dropping to 3-2, getting a lesson from Danny Dimes, just like the Cleveland Browns did earlier this year, as the Giants beat the Seahawks 29-20. What did you learn on this one with this late touchdown and a blocked kick?
The word that comes to mind is exposed. And, Seahawks Twitter is a delusional place. Geno Smith is elite. This is a really good team. We have all these great players that we drafted since we traded Russell Wilson. Look at all these great players. Guess what? Out of the 5 or 6 first and second round picks we got for Russell Wilson, we have one guy who went to 1 Pro Bowl. Okay. John Schneider, the general manager, is a fucking clown. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to build football teams. He's drafted some good players. He has not drafted a single great player. Devon Witherspoon is doing nothing out there. They spent the 5th overall pick in 2023 on a nickel corner and didn't take a quarterback. That's how fucked up the Seahawks thinking is. And it's, again, speaking of things coming home to roost, we have a good coach. I think Mike Macdonald's a good coach. Having said that, he got out-coached this weekend. The Seahawks came in with a bad attitude. Their attitude is like, well, we're only playing we lost to the Lions last Monday, but we're only playing the Giants this week. Well, guess what? The Giants showed you who they were. And Daniel Jones, this McDonald likes small, quick linebackers who can cover receivers and cover ground and make plays. Well, Daniel Jones is what? 6'3", 6'5", 230 pounds. Well, guess what? When he didn't have anybody to throw to, because we have a pretty good secondary, he took off and he ran over our linebackers and safeties like they were Lilliputian nickel corners. I mean, he ran over them like he'd run over me.
I'm sorry, Lilliputian? You were pulling this out of like the yes. I feel like this is
Gulliver's Travel, Lilliputians, little itty bitty people.
I think this is from like the Dennis Miller Weekend Update Rolodex of interesting references.
To make excuses and be fair, the Seahawks had 5 days to prepare. The Giants had 10 days to prepare. They took advantage of that. They exploited all of our weaknesses. They saw where our problems were. Their running back, Tyrell, can you go back up? Tyrone Tracy, 129 yards. He ran up, around, and through us. And it was interesting because the Seahawks drafted a guy named Zach Charbonnet in the second round 2 years ago.
So did I in my dynasty league.
And he's so slow, he can't make a play. He's more of a power back and a blocking back, but he can't make a play. And it was just shocking to me. Like when they would get the ball in the hands of Tyler there, Tyrone Tracy, how fast he accelerated. It's just like he gets the ball and zoom, and straight ahead. And the Seahawks are doing all this stuff, trying to make moves because, we're so good. And they just got embarrassed. DK Metcalf had another dumb fumble. The problem is the Seahawks, I think, are going to be in a position around the trading deadline where they should be selling off to get more draft picks because they don't have a quarterback who can lift them up when the chips are down, which they were this week. But they can't do that because their salary cap is so screwed up that they can't trade anybody. Even if they wanted to, they'd be $10 million over the salary cap if they traded anybody that anybody would want. So we're a mess right now. And this was a trap game. This was a game the Seahawks should have won based on our assessment of talent, but they got their butts kicked. So now, in order, Brian, to make up for that, you now have to pull off an upset in a game you should not win to get back to even, to get back to where you ought to be in playoff contention. And I don't know where that comes from. I don't think it's tonight because I think the 49ers need this game after losing to the Cardinals. They need this game more than the Seahawks, and they're a better roster even with their injuries.
There you go. That's a preview of the pick section. Yes,
you got taken apart physically, and Ken Walker, one of our best offensive weapons, touched the ball 5 times.
Yeah, you didn't give. I was looking at that because I was playing him. I got some injuries. I think Isaiah Pacheco's down, so I was playing Kenneth Walker. Come on, five rushing attempts in the game.
Yeah, and I
Five
think he might
rushing
have had
attempts.
one pass reception. And again, this is a function of they've got an offense where we want to spread it around. So they threw the
He
ball.
actually had seven receptions for 57 yards.
Yeah,
Kenneth Walker.
they threw the ball to. No, I don't think that's right.
It's showing 7 receptions from Kenneth Walker on 8 targets.
Charbonnet had 5 touches. So those are 5 more touches that should have gone to Ken Walker. And
well, I think Walker was nursing a bit of an injury. They were balancing it out a little bit.
He's always injured. It's like, dude, if you can't play, then get off my freaking team and let's go find a guy that can play, like Nick Chubb, who played basically every game for the first 6 years of his career. I don't know. I just think we got exposed with the weaknesses. Teams are basically saying we're going to take away the run and make Geno Smith beat us. In the last 2 weeks, he has not been able to do that. So we'll see what happens tonight.
All right, let's talk about 2 3-2 teams.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a flashback to the 70s when these were the powerhouse matchups of the Cowboys and Steelers. Dak Prescott, Jalen Tolbert, last second touchdown, 20 seconds on the clock. Cowboys come from behind to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-17. And of course, now they're going to be asking who will be under center for the Steelers moving forward. Some of the plays not being made by Justin Fields and Russell Wilson's health coming back. I'm wondering if they're going to make a change, but let's talk about Cowboys beating the Steelers here, Mike. What did we learn?
Well, give credit to Dak. He got the job done at the end of the game when he needed to. He made the plays he needed to make, and you got to give him credit for that. 352 yards. The interceptions were bad, but, Dak picked them up. Did he play like the highest paid player in the league ever? No, but he played good enough. And Cowboys got a win they desperately needed. Steelers lost the game they had right there to win. But the problem, again, you put your finger on it. They're not productive enough in the passing game. 131 yards out of 15 completions. That's fine. But Russ, unless Russ has fallen off a cliff physically, which I do not believe he has in terms of his arm strength and stuff, Russ is going to get you more than that. And I think they have to play Russ this week. I really do. And Tomlin made some indications like, I'm not real happy with the passing game. Yeah. And look, I love Justin Fields. I wanted to love him. I wanted to get him in this offseason, but we have to face the reality that he just doesn't produce in the passing game, and we don't exactly know why.
Yeah, I think one of the ways Deshaun Watson's been described is similar to how Justin Fields is being described. Third down, inability to get the third down conversions. They're missing layups. There are opportunities that are, if you watch the All-22 or whatever, you watching the footage, there are plays to be made. It's not, the line deteriorated. This and that. No excuses. Like on film, like the play is schemed away. There's your first down, and he doesn't see it. He doesn't trust it. He doesn't know to make the reads.
Right. He does see it. He doesn't pull the trigger, and he doesn't have an excuse. He's not 5'10" like Russell Wilson. He's 6'3", so he can see over the line, and he just doesn't get the ball there. And we don't know why, because we've seen him throw the rock, and we know that he can do it when he wants to. But just you got to pull the trigger, Justin. You got to pull the trigger.
He eclipsed 300 yards once in last week against the Colts. We'll see who they go to at quarterback. I'm guessing it might be Wilson, but look, the Steelers are 3-2. They're not bad. They're in actually tied with Baltimore. Lost out on the tiebreaker currently, but they're at the top of the AFC North. I mean, do you break it up? Do you mix it up? We'll see what Tomlin decides to do. All right, final game from last week. This one, Saints now, Derek Carr, they lose the game and they lose Derek Carr. I think they're going to their rookie heading forward now, but a resurgence for Kareem Hunt, former Cleveland Brown. Good for him. 5-0 Kansas City Chiefs. They double up the Saints. What did we learn here?
Well, the trick with Mahomes is you have to pressure him up the middle. You have to hold your outside ends. You don't want him to get too wide because he'll cut through the lanes. You got to get those 2 guys in the middle, or even send a third guy to push that pocket back in his face. And every time they didn't do that, they allowed a running lane. He escaped and either made a play with his hands, throwing the ball with his arm, or made a play with his legs. That's why he's so difficult to defend. And the teams that are successful get that pressure up the middle. Saints just didn't seem to have the personnel to do it. Derek Carr is back to being Derek Carr, and now he's injured. And the exciting thing for me about this is there was a guy that I argued, look, the Seahawks need a quarterback. Let's go get Spencer Rattler. Let's get him in the 3rd round or the 4th round or the 5th round. We had 4 chances, actually 5 if you count the 1st round pick, to go get Spencer Rattler. And they were all like, oh, well, there's these character issues because he did a reality show when he was 17 years old. Oh, yeah, I'm really going to hold that against the guy. And guess what? He's now going to be the starter. He's jumping over the number 2 active quarterback, the backup quarterback who was, I forget his name. Hayner. Yeah, he's jumping over him. They're going to start him. And I'm excited to watch that performance because I believe in Rattler's physical ability. I think he had 1st round physical talents. We'll see if he's got the awareness. He seemed to show that in the preseason. If he's got the pocket awareness and the smarts to be a big player in this league. And if he does, I am going to humiliate Seahawks Twitter on this account the next 10 freaking years. So I'm excited about the Saints. I'm excited for them to get into their new era. They're doing it the smart way. They drafted a guy and now they're going to play him. And let's see what happens because I think the Saints are showing us that's the right way to build your football team. So
let me just make a point on Patrick Mahomes while we wrap this up. He's 6 on the season, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 55.8 QBR. He's not lighting it up.
No, well, they have receiver problems. They have receiver problems. There's no question about that. Now they've lost Rashee Rice for the rest of the year. Travis Kelce has been distracted by the Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift must have cut his hair, made him grow a mustache. She's sucking the soul out of him. He's falling off. So the Chiefs are going to have to go get 1 or 2 receivers at or before the trade deadline to make a difference for them this year. But look, 5-0 is 5-0, right? Maybe they're going to find out, look, we only need Mahomes to be Mahomes on 3 or 4 plays a game. And the defense and the special teams will take care of the rest of it. That's what I think we're seeing for the Chiefs. They're as long as you got Andy Reid. There was a play last week, and I remember in the game where a guy just gets wide open over the middle, like nobody within 25 yards. And I'm like, Andy Reid is the best in the NFL at scheming guys wide open. And I don't know exactly how he does it, but all I know is Seahawks offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, study the Chiefs film and figure out exactly how Andy does it and start doing it yourself. Because how do you do that? How is it the Chiefs are always the only team with guys there's nobody around them for 20 yards? How do you do that in the NFL?
I know.
I don't know, but Andy Reid finds a way to do it.
Because there's pick plays and then there's misdirection and then there's what the Browns were good at. It was running it to Chubb, but then it was the faking to Chubb and then the bootleg.
Yeah.
Because you had to respect Chubb enough that then you're out of position running a naked boot and then Chubb's sitting right there. You got Njoku on another stage and you got someone going deep and someone going thirds. And you're like,
that's the other thing is that, the 49ers used to use all sorts of pick plays and cheap crap like that. Chiefs don't do that. Andy Reid just finds a way to fool everybody and lead to leaving one guy wide open. And it works almost every game. You see that happen. Nobody around him for 20 yards.
Well, Mike, I think now we're going to take a look at next week. You maybe want to pull up your.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah, because I went first the first 3 weeks. I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but I need to listen to your wisdom before I go bonkers with my upsets. Because I'm following. What is your record so far? Let's compare.
Let's review last week. I was 8-6, another winning week for me. I lost out on Tampa and Atlanta. I lost out on Buffalo at Houston. I should not have doubted CJ Stroud. Lost out on the San Francisco game. Who could see that coming? Was stupid and picked the Seahawks over the Giants. So I had a pretty good week, 8-6 on the season. I am 47-31. You're gonna have a hard time catching me. Luckily,
yeah. By the way, on the season, I'm 34-44. So
yeah,
there's a reason I don't play the ponies. There's a reason I don't play the ponies.
It could absolutely still happen. So let's go through and pick the games for this week. 49ers. I like the 49ers over my Seahawks. I think the Seahawks have a lot of problem. The only way the Seahawks win this game is this is their 3rd game, by the way, in 10 days. third game in 11 days, 10 days. They played Monday and they played Sunday. Now they're playing Thursday. Yeah, third game in 11 days. That's too hard. I think the 49ers come in here and beat us because unless Mike McDonald has that game, where, we screwed the pooch last week, we gave the game away, and now I'm going to come up with a coaching masterclass and figure out a way to steal a win that we shouldn't get over the 49ers. Unless he comes up with that tonight, I don't see how the Seahawks win, because when you come down to, even Steven on their injured roster, they still have more elite top 5 or top 10 players than we do. I'm not sure the Seahawks have a top 10 player at any position. And then it comes down to who's got the better quarterback. 49ers do. I think the 49ers win this one. Jags got their first win at Chicago. Chicago's better. Caleb Williams is going to shine. I think they're going to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. Arizona at Green Bay. Tough game to call, but I think Green Bay is playing really well. I'm going to take the Packers. Cleveland at Philadelphia. I'm sorry, Brian. I want to pick your Browns, but I just can't. I think Philly gets it on the right end of things. I think they get to 3-2. And I think they drop you guys to 1-5 because I just don't see Deshaun producing anything. Houston at New England. Drake May's first start. Houston takes advantage. They go to 5-1. They beat the Patriots. Tennessee at Indianapolis at Tennessee. I want to say Baltimore Colts, but it's Indianapolis. If Anthony Richardson plays, it's Anthony Richardson against Will Levis. Richardson's better. This is the game nobody wants to watch this week. I'm just going to stick with my guy, Will Levis, who I believe in, who I wanted the Seahawks to draft in 2023. I'm going to say the Titans are going to pull that one out. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Wow. I want to pick Spencer Rattler and the Saints. I just can't. I think Tampa blew a game they should have won on Thursday night. They've had 10 days to think about it. I think they come back on the road and beat the Saints, who are starting to fade. Although I do think this is a close game. I think Baker outduels the rookie Spencer Rattler. And by the way, I can't compare anybody better to Baker Mayfield than maybe Spencer Rattler. I think you're going to see a couple of clones of each other out there. Redskins in Baltimore. Wow. Can the Redskins, and I'm going to keep calling them the Redskins, can they keep it going on the road, but basically at home because it's the same area at Baltimore? Jaden Daniels versus Lamar. I'm taking Lamar at home. I think they drop the Redskins to 4-2. That's a tough call. The Broncos over the Chargers. Chargers are struggling. Bo Nix, Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert makes a comeback and they upset the Broncos at home. Oh my God, that's this weekend. It's the Steelers. It's this weekend. If Russ is going to start, I'm going to go to this game. I got to get tickets. I like the Steelers over.
I'm really glad we did this show. You had no idea.
I thought it was later in the season. I'm shocked. Okay, I know where I'm going to be on Sunday. I'm going to be at Allegiant. Atlanta and Carolina, you got to go with the Falcons. I think they push it to 4-2. They're looking really good. Detroit at Dallas. Detroit's better. I'm going to take Detroit with the upset on the road. Bengals and Giants. I got to like the way the Giants played. I like the way Daniel Jones played. I got to stick with them. I don't think the Bengals are good enough. Sorry, what was your girl's name? Julie?
That was Holly.
Holly. Sorry, Holly. I just think the Giants are physically a little too tough. And Buffalo at New York. Wow, the first non-Robert Saleh game. Bills.
Go Bills.
That's it. Bills.
All right. There are Mike's picks. Of course, I am 34-44 on the season, so this is where I turn everything around. I'm going to go opposite day. I must be logged in to pick games. I'm logged in. That's how I got here.
Yeah.
Continue. Are you sure? Hold on. Refresh.
Yeah, no, you can pick. You can pick. There you go. You're ready.
Yep. There we go. I'm taking Seattle. Look, they're 2-3 for a reason. Something's off there. I think it's the Christian McCaffrey factor. And I think playing in Seattle is always difficult. This is going to be a big matchup. I'm picking your team. We're going to go with that.
All right. I kind of hope you're right.
I know. Okay. Yes, we're doing this for fun, but like it really counts when it's your hometown team. I am going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars here over Chicago. I'm not sold on Caleb yet. I know he's had a couple of moments, but I'm not sold yet. I think Jacksonville's just had a rough start. I liked what I saw to Tank Bigsby another player I drafted in my dynasty league, filling in for
You
Chad.
think Caleb's head's going to get big after last week and he's going to throw a bunch of bad interceptions or something? Is that what you're thinking?
He's had a bit of uneven quarterback play rookie year so far that you would obviously expect out of somebody's first couple months in the league. Yeah, I'm not sold on him at all yet.
Okay.
Prove me wrong, but there's still a lot to be gathered from his the grading that I'm going to give Caleb Williams.
Right.
It's far from in concrete. It's very fluid at this moment. And I think Trevor Lawrence has been getting a bit of a bad rap. So I think a bounce back here. I think Jacksonville's going to return to a little bit of respect.
Yeah, Jax, if you want to draft a new quarterback in the first round, by all means, send Trevor Lawrence to my Seahawks. We'll take him.
Yeah, we'll take him in Cleveland too. Arizona, Green Bay. I'm going to go with Green Bay at home. That's hard to pick against. Yeah, I'm going to go something stupid here. I'm picking the Cleveland Browns. I know everybody's down on Watson and nobody dislikes him or the trade more than me. But I don't see us being that far away. I don't understand what the problem is. We are dangerously close to all of the wheels falling off the vehicle at once and us just sliding.
This is why you're losing to me, Brian. This is why you're losing to me, because you go with your heart rather than your head.
Yeah, but look, I've been starting Jalen Hurts in my dynasty leagues, and he's been far from the player he's been for the past 2-3 years as well. That Philly team at 2-2 is not super impressive.
Kelsey makes a huge not having Kelsey makes a huge difference on their offensive line, which has been their strength the last 3 years.
Very true. Although I will add that Saquon Barkley over there is a nice addition. I've been liking what I'm seeing there.
Yeah, and I'm not saying my earlier comments about Saquon. I'm not saying he's not a great back. I'm just saying you don't take a running back with the second overall pick when there's quarterbacks around.
Yeah. Yeah, ranking the positional needs, of course, running back has not been in the top 10 as much lately for sure. Houston, you just got to go with that. The Patriots are in rebuild mode. Ooh, Indy, Tennessee. I'm going with the Colts, whether it is Flacco or Richardson behind. Did they officially name, is Richardson back, or they're not certain yet?
I don't think that they've said anything yet about which guy it's going to be.
Yeah, Flacco's been unleashing that offense, kind of bringing them back, getting some consistency back there. And I think that's a very beatable team. So I'm going to go with the Colts.
What an upgrade at backup quarterback for them, for Flacco over Minshew. I mean, Minshew's okay, and he can be streaky, but man, Flacco is a big upgrade back there.
Absolutely. Flacco is elite, as Donald Trump once said. Baker over Rattler. He's elite.
He's elite.
He's elite.
Guaranteed. Okay.
I'm going to go contrarian as well in this one. Like I like how you kind of pointed out, this is almost like a home game, and the Redskins haven't been good for a lot of years, but I watched a pretty solid team. And you were talking about the comfort factor. I was going to say it, but I didn't want to interrupt you earlier about the difference between quarterbacks watching Jaden Daniels versus Deshaun Watson with the Browns. Yeah. Even the running out of bounds plays, Jaden Daniels had a much firmer grasp of where the sideline was, what his speed was, what the defender's closing speed was, who else was coming. He just had this nonchalant way, and that you can act nonchalant when you're comfortable and knowledgeable and you know what's going on.
And so confident. Reminds me, his confidence level and his relax reminds me of Russell Wilson as a rookie. It's just like, I know what I'm doing here, and you just go do it.
See, and that's what I saw out of Baker Mayfield at his best. I saw a very comfortable player that knew his progressions. We also saw some lousy play out of him, but a lot of that was injury related. Yep. So I'm going to go for the upset here. The two quarterbacks play, I think they're very similar in some ways, although Daniels doesn't like the comparisons to Lamar. I think there are some similarities.
You can take my 0.99999 pure silver coin and flip it on that game, really, because I don't know who's going to win.
Hopefully it's another AFC North team losing, because look, as bad as the Browns are, we're not that far out of it if we can get a string together, and we have talented players. Like you said, how many top 10 players do the Seahawks have compared to how many top 10 players do the 49ers have? The Browns have some really good, talented players.
Yeah.
I don't get what's happening. I don't fully understand, but I until we're mathematically eliminated, I kind of feel like, so you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah. So you're telling me there's a chance?
I'm just going to go for it. I'm picking Washington in this one. Denver's on a roll, and they're at home. They're mile high. And this Los Angeles team, I mean, it's a soft team. It's a soft city. it's weird going and playing in Mile High, and they have some momentum behind him. Like you said, Bo Nix, he just he's starting slow, but he's getting the job done. He's making some
It's a
plays.
soft team in a soft city. That's pretty clever. I would have thought Harbaugh would have toughened him up, but not yet. He's got to really get new players in there. Yeah.
Yeah. What maybe when yes. So I'm going to go with Denver on this one. I'm also going to pick an upset on Vegas. I don't know who is going to be quarterbacking in Pittsburgh. I don't know that it really matters. They're not getting a ton out of their running game. They're not getting a ton out of their passing game. Raiders beat us once already. They found a way to snatch a victory from the jaws of defeat. They made it happen. They got a little bit of luck, sure, but I'm going to go with them. I'm going to say that the Steelers are not the 3-1 or the 3-0 team that they used to be. They're not even a 3-2 team. I'm going to say they drop this one and fall to 3-3. Atlanta, Carolina. Something about Carolina. I want to keep picking them, but I won't because I got ground to make up, and that would be silly. On this one here, I'm going with
not the little head.
What's that?
Think with the big head, not the little head.
Yes, I will. And I'm going to pick Dallas here. Dallas at home. I know that the Lions are probably a better team.
Yeah, but it's a road game.
It is a road game. And so I think Dallas is going to pull this one off. I think Cincinnati is going to bounce back. Okay. New York showing more life than we thought, but come on, the Bengals are not a 1-4 team. I don't think they are.
Up to Holly on that one.
Yes, Holly would probably agree.
Big head, not the little head. Don't suck up to Holly.
No, Holly knows. I spit whatever I'm thinking. Like, it all just dumps out on the table. I have no particular love for Cincinnati. I don't have any particular hate for Cincinnati either. Yeah. Especially we're in a division with Pittsburgh and Baltimore, who stole our
Cardinals for me. It's like they're just irrelevant. I don't really hate them. I just want to beat them twice a year and get it out of the way, but I don't really care about it.
Exactly. In this one, the very first game, we'll call this the first game of the Aaron Rodgers era, since he's now the head coach. Yes, we're putting it on you like we did LeBron James. You're playing general manager and head coach. We all know it. You can pretend you're not, but that spat on the sidelines 2 weeks ago, and Robert is gone. So I'm going to say game one of the Aaron Rodgers era. They get the win over the uneven Buffalo Bills, who seem to be struggling a bit this season, and especially, like you said, a dinged up quarterback situation.
That'll be an interesting Monday night game. There's no way around that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, then we're going to wrap up Strictly Football here today at a special time. Thank you so much, Mike. Tell anybody any last thing where you want them to follow you, any upcoming shows, what's going on.
No, I'm going to be on tomorrow with Real News Live around the same time. It's going to be 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern with Zester Zerfoss. We're going to be talking cryptocurrencies and impact healthcare and a few things like that. That's my last show of the week. And I didn't realize it, but apparently this week I'm going to Allegiant to watch a football game. If Russ starts, I'm going to see the Steelers and the Raiders. I'll get cheap seats along with my bro, but we're going to go watch the Steelers and the Raiders and try not to get my ass kicked because I'm wearing a Seahawks Russell Wilson jersey. I'm going to try.
Well, the good thing is that Vegas is a completely transient city. I know Los Angeles is as well. It's very transient. Any of those games,
you don't mess with those Raiders.
I mean, that's true. I went to Jokeland once and I kept my mouth shut. My cousin made me put a shirt over my Browns shirt and said, "You are not taking me into this stadium wearing a Brown shirt. We're not getting shanked today." But I think in Vegas, half the people at any Vegas game, they're there to get a
They're just wearing a jersey. Yeah, they're not really big.
Yeah, they're not pot committed. But send us something and tag us on X if you end up out there with your brother. You go to the game. We'll stay connected with you there. And so we'll be back.
You need to get a fully football Twitter X account. You need a separate fully football.
Well, I would. Yeah, I will. I'll do a Strictly Football X account. In the meantime, we can do at the Unhappy Hour _.
The Unhappy Hour.
The Unhappy Hour _.
That could
yes, that's a good point. We do need to get that additional page up as well. All right, cool. Well, then we'll be back. I don't know what time I'm doing the show with Blake today for Agree to Disagree. I might be indisposed, so we might have to try this a different way, but stay tuned. We're going to aim for 3:00 Eastern. Otherwise, it's Tuesday, Thursday. 3:00 Eastern with the Agree to Disagree show. And then we'll try to be back next week on Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern for Strictly Football. You're doing not the Nanu. You're doing the Live Long and Prosper.
Live Long and Prosper.
Was there a Nanu with Robin Williams? Did he have a hand?
That was Mork and Mindy.
But did he have a hand thing? I know that's Live Long and Prosper, but did he have was it?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think he just said that.
Nanu. All right. Well, now we're going down the Wayback Machine.
A little bit gay, but yeah, let's not go there.
Yes, trying to find the late 70s, early 80s sitcom references. I was just watching an old Cheers episode from 1981. I'm like, that was from 1981. Good God, Woody Harrelson, you have aged,
Kirstie Alley.
Oh, back in the day. Back in the day. All right, perfect. Well, then we're signing off for now. Thanks for finding us. We're going to talk strictly football again next week. Good luck to your team, unless it's someone the Browns are playing, unless it's someone the Seahawks are playing. All right, we'll talk to you later.